Today on NewsWatch, travel warning. Government officials raise a worldwide alert as Americans gear up for holiday travel this week. See the precautions they're encouraging U.S. citizens to take. Plus, some military experts say arming the Kurds could be the key to beating ISIS. We're going to show you why. And fighting abortion, hear why one author says the church needs to step up when it comes to saving the lives of unborn children. So much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. With the Thanksgiving holiday just a couple of days away, U.S. officials are issuing a worldwide travel alert for Americans after the terrorist attacks in Paris. The State Department warns that groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Boko Haram continue to plan attacks in multiple regions. Charlene Aaron has the story.
As Americans make plans to travel for the holidays, the U.S. and European governments fear terrorists are making plans for more attacks. The State Department issuing an uncommon worldwide alert due to increased terrorist threats. And the head of Homeland Security says there could be more attacks like those in Paris.
We are, and we continue to be, and we have been concerned about copycat-like attacks.
The travel alert, in effect until February 24th, says current information suggests that militants with Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, and other terrorist groups continue to plan attacks in multiple regions. U.S. authorities said the likelihood of terror attacks will continue as members of ISIS return from Syria and Iraq, and other individuals not affiliated with terror groups engage in violence on their own. As seen in Paris, terrorists have targeted places where crowds gather, such as sporting events, theaters, and restaurants. U.S. citizens should exercise vigilance when in public places or using transportation, the alert said. Be aware of immediate surroundings and avoid large crowds or crowded places. Exercise particular caution during the holiday season and at holiday festivals or events. As threats loom both in the U.S. and abroad, President Obama meets with French President François Hollande at the White House today. The pair will discuss how to ramp up the fight against ISIS extremists. This meeting comes as a new poll shows that the public does not think that President Obama has a clear strategy for dealing with ISIS. And many critics say the French president has been stronger in dealing with terrorism than President Obama. The meeting also comes as the president is dealing with another serious problem, the question of whether analysts at Central Command, which oversees Pentagon operations in the Middle East, changed assessments of the campaign against ISIS to make it appear as though the U.S. and Western partners were making more progress than they actually were. It's just another problem for the president when it comes to the public's view of how he's handling terrorism. A new CBS poll found that 66% do not think he has a clear plan for dealing with ISIS. Now, after terrorism in Paris, terrorism has become the top issue for Americans amid threats of more attacks both abroad and here in America. And the public doesn't believe that President Obama has the answers. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
The only person in custody who could face charges in connection to the November 13th terror attack in Paris is heading to court today. Jawad Ben-Daoud was detained moments after giving a television interview in which he acknowledged he had given shelter to two people from Belgium. He had said he did not know who they were or what they had planned. Turkey shot down a Russian warplane today, claiming it violated Turkish airspace and ignored repeated warnings. The incident highlights the complicated war on ISIS as more countries join the fight in the wake of the Paris attacks. But many military experts say the best strategy against ISIS is one thing: arming the Kurds. As Chris Mitchell witnessed on the front lines in Kurdistan, that effort still has a long way to go.
The Kurdish military secured one of its biggest victories recently by retaking the strategic town of Sinjar. Still, the overall challenge in confronting the Islamic State is daunting. The Kurdish military, known as the Peshmerga, hold a more than 600-mile line against ISIS. That includes key towns like Makmur behind me, which controls access to Erbil, the capital of Kurdistan. This is the one fighting force holding its own against ISIS.
Look, the PKK affiliate in Syria are the ones that are doing the heavy lifting there, too. From Kobani all the way west. They're the ones that are doing the effective fighting. It isn't anybody else. It isn't the guys that we trained up.
Retired U.S. Colonel Richard Knabb has worked with the Kurds for nearly 25 years. He says it's in America's interest to support them.
Surely they're an ally of the U.S. that we need. They love America more than I think some Americans do. They're good people, and they're a good friend to have in your court, and they're very important for this region. I would support the Kurds. The Kurds are going to be the mainstream. They're going to be the guys that can deal with Iran, they can deal with Syria, and they can do it for us.
Despite those positives, the Kurds still haven't received the kind of heavy arms they've requested from the U.S.
It has to do with some sort of funky diplomatic legality, which is irrelevant here. These people are fighting for their lives. And in a way, they're fighting for our lives in the future. Because if they can kill this radical Islam here, so it doesn't migrate to the States, it doesn't become more popular. It's pretty popular now.
We talk with Mahmoud, a Kurdish sniper, about the lack of advanced weapons. He responded with a message for Americans.
The Americans should realize that we're fighting an Islamic Caliphate state. It's not easy. Even though we're suffering from a lack of advanced weapons, we've stood against ISIS. They should realize that with our limited military resources, we can fight them, and we will keep fighting them. It's very important for them to know that we also need their help, their military support.
He says the Kurds are standing in the gap for the free world.
You know, the Kurds proved to the whole world that they're the only force which can stand against ISIS. We're stopping them on the front line so they won't cross the border. Because if they cross the border, the free world will be attacked by ISIS. We're fighting ISIS on behalf of the whole free world.
Knabb says Americans need to know strength makes a big difference here.
I think they need to know that the Middle East needs a strong U.S. presence. A strong, forceful presence. Part of that is we can exhibit by supporting the Kurds, I think, our friends here. But we are weak here, and when we are weak, the whole thing comes around. Now you see the Russians coming back in Syria, you think things going not better, but worse.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Makmur, Kurdistan.
Indiana Governor Mike Pence is being sued over his decision to block Syrian refugees from settling in that state. The Indianapolis Star reports the lawsuit was filed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana. It accuses Pence of violating the Constitution and the Civil Rights Act by accepting refugees from other countries, but not those from Syria. Meanwhile, Canada's new Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is announcing his plan to resettle 25,000 Syrian refugees. He says all 10 of Canada's provincial premiers support bringing that many. Is America the next target of Islamic terror? If so, how do we prevent violence from reaching U.S. soil? Through diplomacy and development, according to leaders gathered in Des Moines, Iowa, Monday. More than 200 experts, academics, and community leaders attended the event, moderated by CBN News' very own David Brody. They discussed everything from the terrorist attacks in Paris to the Syrian refugees and America's role as a global leader. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, one of the invited panelists, had some advice for the presidential candidates on how to deal with multiple crises at once.
Leadership is different than being someone in authority. You can carry the title president, but that doesn't necessarily make you a leader. Right now we have a void because we need a leader that will step forward and will say, Arab nations, allies, we need to come together and work together. We need a leader that can pull people together to combat ISIS, to combat hunger, to combat so many other issues, malaria, other disease in Africa.
The event was sponsored by the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition. For more, log on to cbnnews.com. Indiana authorities have now charged 2 young men with the murder of Amanda Blackburn, the pregnant wife of a pastor in Indianapolis. The young mother was killed during a home invasion and robbery. Police say 18-year-old Larry Taylor shot Amanda Blackburn 3 times, and they charged 21-year-old Jalen Watson with using her ATM card to steal cash. Indianapolis police say a trio of suspects committed 3 burglaries that morning, in addition to assaulting and killing Blackburn. Police have been able to use DNA and cell phone technology to tie the men to the scene of the crimes. The Muslim teenager who was arrested and suspended for making a clock that school authorities thought was a bomb is suing. Ahmed Muhammad's attorneys say he was publicly mistreated, so they're suing the city of Irving, Texas for $10 million and the Irving Independent School District for another $5 million. After the incident, Ahmed went on a worldwide tour, even meeting President Obama at the White House. And a foundation offered to pay for Ahmed's education in Qatar. So the family packed up and moved there. Most of the citizens of Qatar follow the strict Wahhabi version of Islam. Coming up, rescuing the unborn from the abortion mills of America. Is it the politician's job or the church's job? We're going to examine that question after this. Planned Parenthood is suing the state of Texas over its push to block Medicaid funding to the nation's largest abortion provider. Federal courts have halted similar attempts in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Alabama, while lawsuits play out. The Lone Star State plans to kick Planned Parenthood out of its Medicaid program by December 8th. The lawsuit begins another legal showdown between Texas and abortion providers. Earlier this month, the U.S. Supreme Court announced it will hear arguments over a 2013 Texas law. Planned Parenthood also sued Texas in 2012 after being booted from the state's women's health care program, but it eventually lost that case. Many pro-life Americans pray their politicians will do the major work of ending abortion by someday outlawing it. But the head of Online for Life argues in his latest book that lets the church off the hook. Brian Fisher spoke with CBN's Paul Strand about why each and every church and believer should be on the front line.
The name is Deliver Us from Abortion, Awakening the Church to End the Killing of America's Children. And the idea is that although there are many folks in the church that are working to end abortion, we need more. And the book explores why so many folks that call themselves Christians are silent on the topic of abortion when it is the spiritual issue of our day, having killed over 57 million Americans.
What's your call for action in the book? Are you just saying everybody needs to get involved in this issue? How are you doing that? Because, there are a lot of Christians who are even pro-abortion.
There are. We do explore the topic of abortion biblically. So the middle portion of the book is actually a small Bible study on what Scripture actually says about the sacredness of life. And then the last third of the book is, in fact, a call to action. And one of the powerful ways that a church can get involved, if they don't want to deal with abortion politically or from an activist standpoint, is say, look, the sin of abortion is not bigger than the cross of Christ. The cross of Christ is bigger than the sin of abortion, meaning the church can be the hands and feet of Christ to express his grace and forgiveness to those who have aborted, which, when you consider 30 million American women have aborted a child, is a phenomenal opportunity to provide grace and forgiveness to those people. And then the book also says, look, as a church, we need to start the conversation. We need to talk about what abortion is. We need to talk about how it's ripping apart our families. And we need to talk about how the church can be involved. Since abortion is primarily a spiritual issue, the church is the primary institution to deal with it.
Do you deal at all with the fact that as many Christian women as non-Christian women get abortions in America?
We do. Matter of fact, I take a look at the abortion rates inside the church and outside the church, and they're essentially the same, which means we're not getting the message out that God has given us the gift of life, and every single human being, regardless of the circumstances of conception, has priceless value and unlimited potential.
Now, a lot of people, they turn to politics and they say, we need to get politicians to outlaw it and stuff like that. What can the church do itself to actually stop abortion? Are you calling on people to get involved in politics, or is there something we can do outside of the political realm?
Well, abortion is not primarily a political issue. This is where I think the church has made a mistake. We think abortion is primarily a political issue, and so we say, well, Washington is going to take care of it. Well, Washington hasn't taken care of it. So the church, being God's hands and feet of the gospel, is the primary institution to deal with it. And so, yes, we should become involved politically, but that's not the only channel. We should be involved in activist activities. We should be involved in our local crisis pregnancy centers. We should be involved caring for those who have aborted a child and are dealing with shame and guilt and all the pain that comes with that. Those are the types of activities that the church is perfectly suited for. And a well-organized church that has strong leadership can make a mind-blowing difference in their communities on this issue, and I think can lead the charge to end abortion.
All right, so Brian, what is the name of the book one more time?
The name of the book is Deliver Us from Abortion, Awakening the Church to End the Killing of America's Children, and you can find it in any bookstore or deliverusfromabortion.com.
Still to come, join us for a wilderness survival experience. Get a real taste of the great outdoors. Well, picture this. You're driving on a snowy road on your way to Thanksgiving dinner and your car breaks down and you are all alone. Or you're hiking and you become suddenly lost and your cell phone isn't working. Would you panic or would you be prepared to survive until rescue comes? To bring you some answers, Wendy Griffith took a wilderness survival course to learn the basics of survival to share them with you.
Welcome to Mountain Shepherd's Wilderness Survival School, located in the beautiful and rugged mountains of Southwest Virginia. Here, Reggie and Dina Bennett train military and regular folks how to survive the worst-case scenarios and live to tell about them. The Bennetts focus on 7 main survival skills: positive mental attitude, first aid, shelter, firecraft, signaling, water, and food. Most people think that finding food and water are their top priorities in a survival situation. But actually, it's building a safe and secure shelter like the one behind me that should be your first order of business.
Because the environment is going to do you in a lot quicker than most anything else.
Reggie, a former U.S. Air Force survival instructor, showed us how to take a simple plastic sheet you can buy almost anywhere, a piece of sturdy string, and in no time, you've got shelter.
What's great about plastic is very forgiving. Even if it's not perfect, it's still going to work for you.
And this time of year, the forest floor gives you all the stuffing you need to make a comfy mattress. CBN videographer Rachel Hooley and I were determined not only to make our own shelter, but to sleep in it.
Hey, it's working. Hey! I'm very excited about our mattress tonight. Look at this. This is going to be better than a hotel.
Well, we are here, snug as a bug, in our tent. Here's Rachel.
Hello.
How does it feel?
It's cozier than I thought it would be.
It rained during the night, but our shelter kept us warm and dry. Another vital part of survival, especially in winter, is fire. Fire serves a number of purposes other than simply keeping you warm. It allows you to cook, boil water for drinking, keep bugs and predators away, acts as a signaling device, and supports the #1 survival skill, keeping a positive mental attitude.
But what would happen if I threw that right on my tinder? What would I be doing to tinder? I'd smother it. So see, this is where the platform and brace comes in. You put the brace next to your platform like this, right next to the tinder. Then you take your first kindling, bunch it up nice and tight, and you set that right over top the fire. If you see any smoke, it's saying, Reggie, I need oxygen. And all you have to do is just lift the brace up.
I chose the flint and steel method to make my fire. I used a cotton ball smothered in petroleum jelly as my tinder. Vaseline, hand sanitizer, even chapstick makes a cheap and easy accelerant in an emergency situation.
So if you come out into the woods and you don't have an accelerant to start your fire, you can simply take a very sharp knife and scrape it and create what's called like a fluff, which makes excellent tinder.
Fellow survival classmate Sage was successful using just fluff from the wood and a fire starter to get her blaze going. Now for one of the most important elements of survival, water. The average person can only survive about 3 days without water. You can survive 3 weeks or more without food.
Your body is about 75 to 80% water. So you are going to get dehydrated really quick if you don't keep sipping that water. Remember what we say here at our school, ration your sweat, not your water.
If you're in a situation where you don't have water purification tablets and cannot boil the water, try to find the entry place where the spring is coming out of the mountain, like this one.
The water's coming out of the ground right there. See it? So it's being filtered through this ridge, hits this area, and comes out right there.
This provides your best chance of drinking the water before it's contaminated by animals and other bacteria. And last on the list, but not least for most of us, is food. Reggie showed us how to make a squirrel trap with a simple piece of wire.
And I'm just going to funnel him right into my snare.
This time of year, edible plants are scarce. Fortunately, the forest provides plenty of edible bugs. The best way to eat any insect is to cook it. Worms, grubs, termites, crickets, and beetles are your best bet. Although today, we went for what we could find, the popular wood roach.
Oh, look at this. It's a buffet. See, I told you when you find one, you usually find a huge family.
So in a survival situation, if we were really hungry, this wood roach would be an excellent source of what?
Of the fats, the carbohydrates that you need in a survival situation.
Okay.
Which you're not going to get from plants. I'm not saying don't go after plants, but these are readily available. They're all over the world. If you use those rules that I taught you, this is what you need.
Okay, so we're going to roast them. All
Okay,
right.
so we just roast them because they could have a parasite on there. So get them down there in the flames.
Nice and cooked. Okay, I can't believe I'm doing this, but in a survival situation, this little roach would be a great source of fat and carbohydrates. Tastes like a nut.
Yeah, like I knew.
It tastes like a really tasty nut.
Yeah.
Wow, very nutty.
So you've just got over those food aversions, and now you're going to survive.
Reggie,
All right,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
So skip that turkey and pass the wood roach. Stay with us. We're coming right back with more CBN NewsWatch. It's time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and consider this as we push the pause button and begin the holiday rush. The greatest gift is one we could never afford, but God has graciously covered. He paid the ultimate price for our salvation. And what does He want in return? A relationship with us. Make time to be intimate with Him this holiday season and in all seasons of life. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that online as well. Make this a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.